Hello and welcome. This is Joshua from I Am One of the People, B.O.R. And if you've joined me in the last few videos, the last video I did was The Journey Begins Part 3. And in that video, I announced that I'll be doing 5 questions throughout the week. Well, today's video is about what is the border crisis? Okay? So this is how I would have gone about looking up stuff like this when I first started. And this is for the first part is about how beginners would go about looking up stuff. So I looked up what is border crisis on Google search. Now I just took the top 3 of each place that I searched and to show what is coming up on a search if you were just starting out trying to look for stuff. Okay? And on Google search, the number one that came up was an ABC report. Okay. Then after that, and I want to acknowledge this because most people don't realize how Google is starting to work, where they're promoting more of the Democratic side than they do the Republican side. So if you do searches a lot, make sure that you're getting both sides of it in the what comes up, because a lot of times you'll only get Democrat side. Okay. After ABC came up, then there was people also ask, and there's like 4 or 5 questions. So in the first page, when it first comes up on Google, you only see number 1 ABC report on it. Okay? Then after people also ask in 4 or 5 questions, you keep scrolling and then you find the number 2 one, which is United States House Committee. Then number 3 is Pew Research Center. Okay? Then I also went and looked up YouTube search. Okay? And asked the same question, what is the border crisis? And YouTube search came up with number 1, Breakthrough News. Number 2, Professor Nez. Number 3, Live Now from Fox. Okay. Then I went and searched on X, which is used to be Twitter, for the same question. And the number 1 came up with Richard T. Marta on Jelly Roll, when Jelly Roll was discussing fentanyl and what's going on with the border. Number 2 was Mammoth Nation, and it had a Fox News clip on it talking about it. Number 3 was Proud Elephant, and it had a MSNBC news report on it. Then I went and searched on Rumble search, and asked the same question, what is the border crisis? Number 1 was Dinesh D'Souza that came up and explained the more Republican side of it. Number 2 was And We Know. Now that was also more of a Republican side of it. Then there was the number 3, which is the Thrive Time Show, which seemed to be more of a Democratic view of it. Then I went on to Truth Social and asked the same question, and this is what I got. Number 1, Patriot Made. Elon Musk discussing his time when he was down at the border and he was doing the drones and stuff, observing what's really going on. Then number 2 was Wesley Hunt. That was the second one that came up. And then number 3 was Citizen Free Press. So out of all the searches that I did on all of those, that's what came up. So I watched everything that you would have seen if you were trying to search in those areas and see what kind of information you would have gained by doing so. Okay. So I want to break a little bit of this down today on what I did find and discover on those searches. Okay. So on the Google search, ABC News, their heading was Latest News, Migrant Crisis Explained, What's Behind the Border Surge. Okay. So let's go find ABC News. Give me 1 second. Sorry. There we go. All right. It reports that over 142,000 migrants encounters in the first half of this month came through the border. 142,000 people came through only on the halfway point of the month. So I have to point out that that was September of 23. This reporter traveled to Colombia all the way from the Darien Gap. Okay, this is where the most treacherous part of the immigrants are traveling to get to America. And so then they report about the poor family struggling to make it through the journey. So when ABC was doing the news report, they were breaking it down as a humanitarian crisis, and that these people were taking a long trip, families trying to get to a better life. So they also had to admit that they haven't seen surges like this since Biden enacted the new enforcement measures back in spring. And that the Biden administration, are doing all they can to get out in front of all of this in El Paso. Now, this was talking about 142,000 people crossing a day in El Paso, Texas. And then the news reporters were trying to claim that Biden administration was trying to get out in front of this and stop it from happening. Okay? So that was the first report that you would have seen when you did your search. Okay, then after that, you would have gotten the House of Commerce, or a House Committee, I'm sorry. This report came from the House of Insight Committee. It starts with Chairman Comer, and he asked Mr. Edlow, can you provide us with any specific examples of the Biden administration policies that contributed to the extraordinary levels of illegal immigrants we are currently witnessing? Goes into how the Biden administration trying to work through the immigration problems and how more families come across, and how he represents a couple of the people who are asking for asylum the proper way. Talks about all the loopholes in it and how it stops the ones who are trying to get in the proper way, the legal way. Okay, that's what they're talking about in the House Committee, Oversight Committee. They also go into talking about the memorandum by Mayorkas limits the category of reasons the illegals can be removed from the United States. And this is going to create a insensitive as incentive for more to come over illegally than legally. What he was saying is that the way Biden's administration got it set up is that it's more easier for people to come through and come over illegally right now on the border than it is for them to come through legally. This is a lawyer who was trying to talk to the Senate and explain to them what's going on, even with the clients that he's representing to try to come in legally, that he's having more problem getting those people in than if they would have just walked across themselves. They would have gotten more benefits by doing that. And he goes into talking about, then it goes up to Mr. Holman, who goes into talking about the trafficking and stuff like that that's going on with this whole thing as they were tracking people down and how. Okay, hold on. He goes into talking about the trafficking and how they're stopping families but allowing the children to go on through and shipping these kids off, and nobody knows where they're going. Then he talks about how, this is Mr. Holman, who talks about how the Biden administration is funding all of this. Then he's also talking about how they're removing protection where they can't come in and sending them to where they could process Border Patrol, process the illegals coming in quicker instead of trying to stop them from coming in. That's what the House committee would have reported to you. Then you have the Pew Research Center. Their report, because of the number of migrants wanting in, that it has overwhelmed the government, divided Congress, and is a contentious issue for the 2024 presidential campaign. They report that Americans overwhelmingly fault the government for how they are handling the migrant situation. Now, I want to point out, they also call it the migrant instead of illegals. Now, excuse me, if you notice that if you're watching from the Democratic side of reporting, you're going to hear the migrants or the people looking for amnesty or, families coming in. But if you look at all the other reports, independent contractor, independent journalists or independent media people or the Republican media, you will see that they're calling them illegal aliens, and which is I believe is the proper term. If you come across our border illegally when we're telling you not to, that is an illegal alien. That's not a migrant coming across legally. That is an illegal alien. So they're changing how the wording is so they could get voters to feel bad for the people that are coming across here illegally. Instead of wanting them to do it the right way, they want people to get more and more comfortable with them allowing them to come in illegally. Okay? And that's why they changed the wording. Okay. Now, let's see. Okay, yep. So then I did a little bit more research. This is after going through all of the ones that would have came up on your searches as what is the border crisis, okay? And these are a little bit more that I got into that came up right away, popped up on my thing. And it's Judicial Watch. And his report is unbelievable. Border Patrol is welding open our border walls, 100 gates welded open to allow people to come in. Okay? That's reported from the New York Times. Then Fox News, Supreme Court allows Texas temporary ability to arrest illegal aliens crossing the border. The court has been going back and forth on whether or not to allow Governor Abbott to enforce security at the Texas-Mexico border. Okay, this has been going back and forth. And the Supreme Court one day will say, yes, he can. And the very next day say, no, he can't. Then the very next day say, yes, he can. And it's been crazy. The Border Patrol got ran over the other day by, there was like 600 illegal aliens. 100 of them pushed their way through, but then all 600 ended up trying to get into America illegally, but they stopped them from coming in and made a bunch of arrests, where Biden's administration was trying to say that they cannot arrest them, that they need to release them and let them go into our country. Okay, so that's what Fox News was reporting. ABC News, they call them migrants instead of calling them illegals, and calling this a humanitarian crisis instead of an invasion. Now, I was watching on the ABC News report about what happened, and that's how they reported it, is that they call it a migration. That people are migrating here as people do. That's how they want to present it, is that people of the world should be able to be allowed to migrate wherever they want to, freely. Okay? And that they're only doing this because it's so bad in their homeland, where their home country, where they're from. So if you believe that, you got to look more into it. If you look on the internet, there is all kinds of these illegal aliens that are here on their own phones, talking to their people back into their own countries, telling them to come here because you get free food, free medical, free money. You could take people's homes if you want to. You could take people's cars if you want to. You could commit whatever crime you want to. And Biden's administration ain't going to do nothing about it. That it's okay. Come. You can make all kinds of money. They're going to do everything for you. And you can commit whatever crime you want to commit. You could take people's homes and their cars from them, which is happening all over the place. Streets are just being flooded with stolen vehicles, just being left to abandon. When it runs out of gas or whatever, they just leave it and go get another one. This is insane. How can we maintain this? So the question is what is border crisis? What is the border crisis? Okay. So that was ABC News. Let me keep going with these. NBC News. They report that a small town named Lukeville, Arizona, was a new epic center for illegal crossings a month ago. This is a month ago. After Texas closed up its borders, there was an influx of people crossing, which they overran the border patrol there. The town was small. They couldn't handle the mass amount of people that was coming through, so they just had to leave and let them through. That's insane. 60 Minutes reports that the Chinese nationals was the largest growing group to cross. That was a month ago. So Chinese nationals, and they're not talking about women and children. They're mainly talking about military age men. Men that are in between 18 to 35 years old. Mass amounts of them of Chinese nationals that are flooding our border. Okay? CNN, a group of Venezuelans rushed the border and overrun the bridge, overrunning the Border Patrol. Again, people don't realize how bad this really is. It is outrageously insane. And Fox News reports 2 weeks ago about a cattle rancher in Arizona. Okay, this is a crazy story here. This cattle rancher talks about the amount of illegal aliens just crossing his property alone, and the amount of trash that they leave behind, that they are at a 24-hour pace of keeping up with this stuff and trying to keep these people out. It's 24 hours a day that they're trying to stop them from coming through and trashing his property. Not only that, that every female that is crossing the border in that whole area, as soon as they cross the border, they're being R. Now, I know, I want to say the word, but I know on YouTube they don't allow certain words to be said. So I hope you guys are understanding what I mean by R. It's a horrible thing that they're doing to these females, okay? After that, they take their panties and they hang them in a tree, and it's called an R tree, which is the word I can't say on here, but that's what's happening. And so this guy has to go out every day and clean down the trees in his yard of these R trees. It's heart-wrenching hearing this kind of stuff of what's going on. For what? What is the reason that our border is being overrun so much? Our cities, our these so-called sanctuary cities, they're overran. The people are living on the streets. I watch these videos of New Yorkers getting drugged by people, these gangs. They're going around on scooters and robbing people, and just they'll drag you right into things just to take your stuff from you. It's insane, and the police don't do nothing about it. They just let them go. Chicago, same thing going on. California is being overran. Nevada is being overran. Arizona is being overran. We can't keep going this way. America, we gotta stand up and do something about this. Texas is trying its hardest to fight back as much as we can, and people are just sitting by in here in America and just blind to what's going on because they're comfortable. They don't care. It's not in their immediate lap, so they don't have to worry about it. And it's sad. It's sad that we'll let this get to the point that we can't do nothing about it before we say, oh, well, if I would have known, we should have stopped this. Why didn't they stop this? Well, who's the they? You are part of the they. Get up and do something about it. Look around. See who you need to vote in or vote out or go talk to see what each person could do about making a change. We can't just sit by and let this happen to our country. It is being invaded. I know the Biden administration wants us to say that they are just migrants searching for a better home. But that is not true, people. That it's so far from the truth. If you look at what's really going on, these countries are letting the people out of their prisons and insane asylum, or what, their mental institutions, wherever they are hindered by society the most, those are the people that they're sending here to America for us to deal with and take care of. While here in America, we have a crisis of our own of mental issues that are going on. We can't take care of them and us too at the same time. There's just too many. Our country is going to collapse if we don't do something about this. We are way overspent. We are way overrun. I hope you guys got some value out of this today. I hope that I'm doing a lot better with these videos. Please, if I am and you enjoy it, please subscribe. I need to get my subscriptions up. If you're watching these videos, please subscribe. Push the subscribe button. Don't worry about nothing else. Just subscribe. Help me get my numbers up. Appreciate it. Until then, I hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you on the next one.